right, hello, welcome back to another episode of You're Fucking Welcome. Today, I want to talk to you about how to just get really fucking real with yourself and make a change. And I've heard the term, fuck this shit, used by many people over the past couple of years. An old mentor used to say it all the time. And Nicole Moore, I'm going to reference a few times in this podcast. She has a great podcast herself. She's a love coach. And her podcast name is Love Works. And she has an episode called Fuck This Shit. And if you are, I was going to say if you were single, but really, I think anybody could benefit from listening to the way she explains things because I think it's really powerful. And this episode, again, I've worked privately with Nicole, but this episode in particular is one that I've just gone back and listened to many times because I always get a new little nugget from it. And when I was thinking about this with a lot of different things in my own life and, in business, and more importantly, how you probably want to make some changes in life or business, whatever it is, so often we have a tendency to go day by day and we want something different. We want to make a change and then it kind of goes to the wayside. You picture yourself having it one day and then the desires are stronger one day and not as strong the next. And you wind up in this cycle where nothing is actually changing. No momentum's actually being built. And this whole concept of fuck this shit, right? Like not that I'm a stranger to F-bombs, but that like that especially strong combination of words, fuck this shit. It's this fuck this shit moment where it's different than anything else, right? It's not where you are going to say things are going to change someday, or I hope this is different eventually. It's like, fuck this shit, line in the sand moment. I am no longer willing to put up with this. And it's a big deal. It's not in the sense that it's dramatic, but again, we've all had those moments. Like I have very much had those moments in business where obviously the most obvious one that I can reference is early 2017, where again, I was struggling financially. I was struggling emotionally and personally. And I just had this moment where I'm like, fuck this shit. I just got hurt so badly in this relationship. I just had all of these things happen to me where I feel humiliated and sad and so on and so forth. I am not going to sit around and feel sorry for myself. I am going to go and make a fuck ton of money. And if that means I have to show up every single day, that is fine because fuck this shit living this mediocre life where again, at that time I had to borrow rent from my mother, right? Like, no, fuck this shit. And I took action accordingly, right? And it's again, how you hear a lot of people say like, you just have to decide. And well, actually, I shouldn't even say it like that because I feel like nobody actually says it like that. People just repeat it in this mocking way because it's not, I don't think anyone, at least anyone that I follow, alludes to the idea that it's that simple, but you saying I'm deciding to do something and really truly feeling it and meaning it versus just saying you want it and kind of sort of going after it, they're two very, very, very different things. And so again, this mentality, this mindset of fuck this shit, right? It's something that feels a lot stronger, a lot more real, and a lot more conducive essentially to create actual real change in your life and your business or, love life, all of it, health, in whatever way you actually want to make a change. And so I just want to talk you through a few of the steps that feel really important to me. And this is not necessarily in any particular order. Don't listen to this so black and white. It's not supposed to be that dead on. But I think that like all of these thoughts and shifts collectively, right, when you hold on to them and then you apply them on a daily basis, again, that's what actually leads to a change. And so in any area of your life, right? Any area of your life, if we're specifically talking about a fuck this shit moment, right? And again, it's not this, I want to be clear that it's not this angry or poor me or negative energy, because we've all been there, right? We're like miserable and we're unhappy and we're sad. It doesn't feel like that to me. It's more empowered and it's more like I'm about to rise the fuck up. And sorry to go back to it for 1 second. When I went through that breakup, right, in 2017, and it was bad and it was sad, I was so, again, just emotional and frustrated and angry and resentful and all of those kind of things. And in the months that I spent in that energy, I really couldn't catapult myself forward, right? Like that wasn't the moment that I was able to actually progress. I had to allow myself to A, grieve for a while, but then B, get to this point where I was like, if all of this just happened to me, if everything just played out the way that it did, I am about to rise the fuck up and go bigger and be more successful and have more and be more than I ever thought was possible. And so I want you to feel the way that I'm saying that. It was an excitement. It was like a fuck this shit. I'm acting as though all of these things can hurt me or can take me down. And no, actually, I'm so much better than this. I'm so much better than the life that I was living and the things that I was receiving. Fuck this shit. I'm about to, again, rise up and change. So I want you to feel, hopefully, that energy. It's coming from a place of excitement and it's coming from a place of, again, challenging yourself versus poor me, fuck this shit, this doesn't work for me, right? Again, it's this empowered energy. I know that's like it's an energetic shift. So some of you might be able to feel it and some of you might not be, but as much as possible, I want you to remember here that like real change in anything, making more money, losing weight, in my experience, when we're beating ourselves up for being in debt or when we're beating ourselves up because we hate our bodies, that's not when actual real change happens. It's when we're embracing that we love our bodies and we want to take care of ourselves, right? Or we're getting this plan together for business that we want to implement and it's conducive to making more money, not, oh my God, I'm freaking out, I'm panicked, I need to make money to pay the debt. Excitement, positivity, love, going on that side of the coin will always help you get the better results or get you those results faster, in my experience, in my opinion, than, again, hating or shoulding your way through anything. So again, we're sitting here saying, I know that I'm meant for more. I know that I'm ready to rise up. Fuck all of this old stuff. I'm ready. Let's go, right? That's what a fuck this shit moment means to me. And so the first part of it is simply deciding what no longer aligns with what you want. So again, if we are talking about this in business, let me just give you an example where let's say you are burnt out. You are doing nothing but one-on-one coaching. You're doing lots of sales calls. Your calendar is always full. You feel like you are doing way too many things when it comes to scheduling and, your clients blow up your Voxer and your phone and whatever it is all day long, right? And you are sitting there going week after week, month after month, on this hamster wheel because you feel like you have to do those things to make more money. You want out, but it's also so hard to say no to the money that feels more guaranteed to you. So what's going to happen to that person, and I'm willing to bet a lot of you have been that person, what's going to happen so often is that each and every day you are going to wake up feeling like you dread your business a little bit more so. You are going to feel a little less joyful. You are going to feel a little less energized. But the fear of doing something different or the fear of turning your back on, again, the guaranteed income that feels guaranteed anyway, or actually hiring somebody who, it feels scary to give up control or it feels scary to actually pay somebody more money. If you keep thinking about, okay, one day I'm going to hire more people, one day I'm going to start the course, whatever it is, it's going to continue again being one day. This is where on a nitty gritty level, and I feel like when I say that, it sounds oversimplified, but it does get to be simple. And, I think a part of this, as I preach to you so often, is allowing the process to be messy. All of us, so many of us, we want to have an answer of like what we're going to change 5 seconds after we start reflecting on it. I've been spending a lot of time over the past few weeks figuring out some things that I want to adjust. And it didn't all come to me in one journaling session. It didn't all come to me, in 1 hour. It's been a constant process where I'm adding and I'm adjusting to the list, right? When it comes to what I want to say goodbye to. And so again, I say that because you have to allow the process to be messy, but especially if you are somebody who is on the verge of not a breakdown necessarily, but you can feel that you can't keep living or working the way that you have been. You really feel like you need to make a change. This is where I want you to go through your day, audit your day essentially, and get massively clear on the things that don't feel good. Get massively clear on what you're doing, what you're receiving, what you're experiencing on a daily basis that no longer feels in alignment with what you actually desire. So of course, figuring out what you want is a big part of it. It almost felt too obvious to add as a point. But again, if we're talking about fuck this shit, what can we literally like cross off, if you're imagining it, cross off your to-do list or cross off your life list, the things that are happening, and what do we need to actually just get ruthless about getting rid of? of. So this is where you say, I am no longer willing to do sales calls. I am no longer willing to do live videos every single day. I am no longer willing to have to write my own emails. Sitting there and just really, really, really being specific and honest with yourself around what no longer feels good. I want you to only write things on that piece of paper. Or, well, I like to brainstorm. And then I like to have like a final draft. So maybe it's a situation where you're sitting there writing a bunch of shit you don't like. And don't get me wrong, if you wanted to change those things, all of those things, great. But I also know that a lot of us have this tendency to pretend that we can change 500 things, today, and then we just overwhelm ourselves. So maybe pick 3, maybe pick 5. Decide 3 to 5 things that really, 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 really feel solid to you. If there's anything I'm going to get off my plate, it's going to be these 3 to 5 things. And this is, again, in this fuck this shit energy and this fuck this shit practice, these are the things that I am actually going to get rid of. And here's how I'm going to actually do that. So the second point, which again is kind of like they're such similar points and they go together, but it's then, and meaning you can do one first or one second. I don't think it actually matters here. It depends. I don't know. It depends who you are, right? Like sometimes it feels better for me if I was in a position where, if we're to use dating, for example, if I was fed up with my dating life, or I was fed up with how certain men were treating me and I was pissed off about it and I was like frustrated about it, it might be more helpful for me to be like, to start with like, fuck this shit, fuck, the guy who doesn't text back consistently, so on and so forth. And then sometimes when I'm in a more positive mode and I'm excited about love, that's where I'll really focus on what I actually want. But I think that the 2 steps both have to be done, and they have to be done with each other. But one doesn't work without the other, because it's like, I think so often we're saying what we want, but then we're not eliminating what we don't, or we're just focusing on what we don't want and we're not choosing or figuring out how we're going to actually change it and get something else. So again, we need those 2 steps. So second is really just declaring and being honest with yourself and as specific as possible around what you actually want instead. Because if we're going to use the same example, fuck this shit, I hate doing sales calls, I don't want to do them anymore. Okay, well, what do I want instead? I want 3 clients, for example, signing up to work with me one-on-one each and every month, and here's exactly how I want them to come in. And then we can actually take steps to make that a reality. Same thing with like, if we're saying we don't want to, do live videos, or we don't want to, what's the other thing I said? Not writing emails. Okay, well then what do we want instead? Honestly, I joke about this all the time, but I don't want to touch a keyboard. I just want to talk, and I want words to come together and sound like me, but I don't want to be the person to do it. Okay, so then I'm deciding what I want instead. And let's really sit with, what's the best possible scenario here? How can I allow myself and give myself permission to reflect on how good it could possibly get? Because again, we could sit there and say, oh, well, I want a copywriter to write my emails. Okay, great. And then we put up an ad for a copywriter. We're not specific about what we're actually looking for. We just say we want a copywriter to write emails, instead of saying like, I create tons of live videos each and every week, and it's really, really, really important to me that my words sound like me, my audience feels that I'm writing to them, my passion and all of that is captured through that. I want somebody who doesn't make sloppy mistakes. I want somebody who really gets me and my brand. I want somebody who acts and operates really quickly, or at least we can get onto a schedule where I always have things on time without having to wait for them. Allow yourself to give yourself permission to be like, I want a fucking unicorn. I want a marketing like unicorn. I want a VA that is going to be the best of the best and is going to be the dream scenario for myself. Let yourself go there. So often we don't allow ourselves to actually go there and be honest with ourselves about what we fully want. We just kind of basically write out or reflect on a very watered down vanilla version of what we truly desire. And fuck that, right? Like, we are not the women who do that. We are the women who live extraordinary lives, build extraordinary businesses, have extraordinary love. Like, we are not normal. We are not ordinary. And so therefore we have to decide and own what we actually desire and how that version can be the best of the best. Not just a guy who's nice to you. I want a guy who steps up and pursues me, and so on and so forth. Again, allow yourself to go there, turn up the dial on what you actually want. And again, like I said, when you do those two steps with one another, you can literally feel yourself shedding one thing, but also deciding what's actually going to happen instead, and then create a plan to actually get there. Because, I know a lot of people stress the whole, don't worry about the how. And, that's fine. And I think I get it to an extent. Trust me, I do. I know that especially with business, I like to plan. Having a plan in place allows me to get my energy behind something happening. So like, let's just say if we were single and we wanted to meet somebody and we're again going through these steps, we're saying, okay, here's what I don't want, here's what I do want, and then don't worry about the how. Well, if you are somebody who works from home and let's say you're like not going out all the time, whatever it is, you're like, okay, I know that I could meet somebody walking my dog. I know that I could walk outside my apartment and meet somebody tomorrow. But I also feel like if I were to put myself in a situation where I'm, I don't know, going to work from a coffee shop a couple times a week, or I'm going to do XYZ, I'm going to be on these apps. If you give yourself a plan and you give yourself solid actions to take, that's where it feels more real that it could actually happen. So it's like, don't worry about the how in the sense of like, you're not worried about exactly when and where it's going to happen and what his name's going to be, so on and so forth. But you are stacking the deck in your favor. And again, it could happen any which way. You don't have to worry about the how, but having a plan and taking steps that make you believe that you're getting that much closer to what you actually want is a really, really, really powerful part of all this. And aligned with that, if you're saying, fuck this shit, you have to choose daily, which is my third step here that I want to talk about. All of us, it's so easy for us to imagine and romanticize how things are going to be different in the future, whether that's, 2 weeks from now, 2 years from now, 20 years from now. It's very easy for us to imagine that like, oh, when I lose all the weight, then I'm going to be confident. Or when I make all this money, then I'm going to not be afraid to do X, Y, Z. And of course, there's some validity to that in some ways. But I think it's really, really, really easy for so many of us to start imagining what we want. And then we hold it so far away from us that we don't realize that we're not being that person in that very moment. I don't know if I shared this on the podcast, but I'll share it. I remember when I was at the retreat on the island back in September. And I had this moment where I was getting really overwhelmed because we had a guest speaker and she was like a chakra expert and she was amazing. She was incredible. But we were talking so much about leadership and I caught myself in this moment of feeling like, oh God, I'm not as much of a leader as I want to be. Like, oh my God, my nails are chipped. And oh my God, I need to do this more. And I have to, get this certification. Like it was all ego and it was all nonsense. But I definitely had this very real moment where I'm like, I can't be the leader that I want to be right now. I have to do all these things and change all these things about me. And then I will be there. And I caught myself in this moment where I was like, fuck that. I am going to sit up straighter in this moment, feel like more of a leader in this moment, decide that I'm more of a leader in this moment, and continue choosing. So again, I say it that way because so often, like I said, we put it into the future instead of realizing that we have to choose daily. And we have to choose daily no matter how uncomfortable, okay? Because here's the thing. What's going to happen for so many of these situations is as soon as you say you're not doing sales calls anymore, it's going to be a situation where somebody, an hour later slides into your DMs and is like, I want to hire you, but I need a sales call first. And that's where you're tested. And that's where you have to choose discomfort. Because in a situation like that specifically, if you say yes to that, and obviously this is a little complicated in the sense that like, sure, you might need the sale or whatever it is, while at the same time, if you choose in opposition of what you're saying you want, that's an indication, that's a message to the universe, to yourself, more importantly, that you don't believe that you can have what you want. Because if you believed you could have what you wanted, you wouldn't say yes to things you are saying that you don't actually want. And so those moments are the hard moments. Those moments are uncomfortable. And those are the moments that test you. But those are the moments that actually create change. Those are the moments where you actually get closer to what it is that you actually want instead of running back to who you were previously or what you've done previously. I was journaling like 2 weeks ago on again, I'll keep bringing up men and just in the sense that like I'm dating and, all these things. And I don't even know if I'm trying to think if something sparked it, but I was really just reflecting on how much I desire for a man to just really step up and claim me and pursue me, and just looking for more than casual conversations, right? And like the thing is that I haven't been talking to anybody serious enough to like be upset with how they've been treating me, but I am craving somebody who is a little bit more, who I'm more into, who he's more into me. And again, there's that claiming. There's no question about how he feels about me. There's that like strong pursuing of me. And so I was just reflecting on that a little bit and reflecting on like what I want. And, hours later, I got a text from somebody who we've been chatting on and off for months and months now. And it's somebody that out of everybody, it was somebody that I'm most interested in. But he's been really inconsistent. And, we can sit there and we can make up all the excuses about why he's inconsistent. And I think all of those things are true. And I think one of the most powerful shifts that I've had personally is that I don't have to make somebody else wrong. I can just decide it doesn't work for me, right? Because he's not doing anything wrong to me. Like he hasn't been unkind to me or anything like that. It's not that serious. But I know that I want consistency. I know that I want, again, something a little bit more serious. I don't want the casual or the, coming and going as somebody pleases, whatever it is. I want love. And so it might not be him. It might be him. That doesn't matter. That's not for me to decide. What's for me to decide is what I no longer want, what I actually do want. And then I have to decide daily to honor that. So this is where I kind of laid down the law in a feminine way, for the record, in the sense of this doesn't work for me. And if you wanted to do X, Y, Z instead, I would love that. But basically like this doesn't work for me. And I can give somebody permission to step up or to fall away. And I was completely neutral about it. So I'm giving you that example because I didn't, in that moment, you want that kind of hit of dopamine, if you will. You want that short-term win. It would have been nice to hang out with him. It would have been nice to see him. That would have been fun in the moment, but it's not in alignment with what I ultimately want. And so whereas, the former version of me would have said yes to that text message, would have absolutely said yes to that, I had to do what felt uncomfortable for me, again, especially with somebody that I did genuinely like. I had to do the uncomfortable thing. And it felt so refreshing and good to me that I felt that much more clear that what I actually desire is coming because I took a stand for myself in that way. And I did, again, the uncomfortable thing. And so I'm giving you that example because that, saying no to the guy, saying no to the sales call, it's not fun in that moment. And it feels weird. It feels, again, uncomfortable. I don't even know another word. Like it feels like you're outside of your body because it's not what you're used to choosing for yourself. And so those moments, the moments that bring you discomfort, they're going to suck a little bit, temporarily, but they're actually what grow you and they're actually what get you closer to the thing that you actually want. And I want to point out here that if you are not willing to choose the thing, to say no to the thing you don't want and choose the thing that you do want, then it's not really a fuck this shit moment. You didn't really mean it. You weren't really serious because otherwise you would honor yourself based on what you said you wanted. And not that I'm always perfect with this, of course, but I just want to be somebody who honors my word to myself. I'm declaring that this thing is important to me and I'm going to choose daily and I'm going to act daily in alignment with that, and anything else isn't an option. And so again, to sum it all up, I would really encourage you to get clear on what you don't want, what you do want, and then how you're going to take action and choose on a daily basis. And like I said, this isn't going to be a situation where you can change everything tomorrow, but for the things that feel most important to you, you owe it to yourself to truly make some declarations around what gets to change and what gets to happen so that you can no longer continue to accept what it is that you don't. And, as I always say to you, cycles don't stop until you stop them. And so this has to be an exercise for you in saying, fuck this shit. I am better than this. I deserve better than this. And I am going to operate and act and choose accordingly because I'm worth that. And I desire that. And I've wasted enough time not having what it is that I want. Okay. And so I'm really, really, really excited. I am launching a brand new mini mastermind. It's a 6-week mastermind called Declaration. You've heard me talk about the program I was launching, Declaration, a few months ago. But this concept of just helping so many more of you have that fuck this shit moment, make a real change in your life, in your business. We'll be focusing, of course, on business mostly, while at the same time, obviously the life stuff trickles in and it's just as important and it affects everything. It's about helping you and supporting you and figuring out what exactly needs to change, where you're struggling, where you're and not even struggling, but where you're less happy than you could be, and how we can get you on track to creating the actual circumstance that you want. And so we've got 6 live group hot seat coaching calls. We've got a group Voxer chat. You get a one-on-one call with me. I'm really, really, really excited about it. There are only 10 spots for this. And so you can see all the details on sarah-dan.com. If you're interested, definitely move more quickly than the sales pace here, because again, those 10 spots will go. We definitely won't do more than 10. And so again, I'm excited about this and I would love to have you if this is something that resonates with you and it's something that you really feel like you need a change in your life. This is the thing that's going to help you do that. And I promise you that. Okay. So sarah-dan.com. Do me a favor, rate, review, and subscribe if you have not already. I'm laughing because Gretchen yells at me every single time I record an episode. She's like, just tell people to do it. I always forget. And so pretty please, if you enjoy the show, if you are listening to these episodes, it would mean the world to me. It helps us a lot. It helps the show a lot. And it only takes a few seconds in exchange for what I hope you find really good, free, valuable content. And so yeah, I would appreciate that a ton. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye.